As it is now 6 o'clock, I would like to call to order the meeting of the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals. Are there any changes to the agenda as published to the board?
No, sir.
If not, the agenda stands as presented. Do I hear a motion for approval of the minutes from the September 3rd, 2014 meeting, please?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Roll call vote?
McVeigh?
Yes.
Beck?
Yes.
Uslees?
Yes.
Souls?
Yes.
Sutton?
Abstain. There is no unfinished business. We have new business that consists of 3 appeals. I shall now read all 3 appeals into the record. Appeal number 1233-14. Applicant and owner Randy L. Smith, 3115 55th Street Northeast.
You're taking a look at the minutes from
I'm sorry, thank you. Appeal number 1234-14.
What's that?
Applicant Ken Miller,
Yeah.
909 30th Street Northeast, Canton, Ohio, 44714, and owner Realty Associates of Canton, Inc., 5396 Columbus Road Northeast, Louisville, Ohio, 44641, requests the following: to construct a 16 by 62 foot, 992 square foot commercial addition on the property located at Krause's Pizza, 909 30th Street Northeast, parcel number 52-01851. 6.4 foot east side yard setback variance, 25 feet required. 18.6 feet requested. Article 7, Section 712.3 and 712.4, lot requirements and yard requirements. The property is zoned B1 Neighborhood Business District and is located in the southeast quarter of Section 27. Appeal number 1235-14. Applicant Michael D. Miller, 4015 Hills and Dales Road, Northwest, Canton, Ohio, 44708, and owner Nancy J. Miller, trustee, 4015 Hills and Dales Road, Northwest, Canton, Ohio, 44708. Requests the following: to construct a 43 foot by 32 foot, 1,130 square foot commercial addition to the property located at 2136 Columbus Road Northeast, parcel number 52-07941. 19 foot, 11 inch south rear yard setback variance, 25 feet required, 5 feet, 11 inches requested. Article 7, Section 713.3 and 713.4, lot requirements and yard requirements. The property is zoned B2 General Business District and is located in the southwest quarter of Section 26. Appeal number 1236-14. Applicant Speedway LLC, care of Jonathan Zegan, 13000 Shaker Boulevard, Cleveland, Ohio, 44120, and owner Speedway LLC, 500 Speedway Drive, Ennon, Ohio, 45323. Requests the following: to construct a 48 foot by 82 foot, 9,340 square foot new commercial building on a property located at 2570 Easton Street Northeast, parcel number 52-05663 and part of 52-017647. 15 foot west rear yard setback variance, 25 feet required, 10 feet requested. 15 foot south side yard setback variance, 25 feet required, 10 feet requested. 17 square foot pole sign variance, 149 square foot permitted, 166 square foot requested. Article 7, Section 713.3 and 713.4, lot requirements and yard requirements. Article 8, Section 801.7, freestanding signs, maximum area and height. The property is zoned B2 General Business District and is located in the northwest quarter of Section 14. Next, I would like to read into the minutes the comment from the Plain Township Fire Department, a memo from Troy Slaybaugh, Captain, Division of Inspections and Investigations. Appeal number 1234-14, Kenwell Miller applicant, 909 30th Street Northeast, Canton, Ohio 44714, and Realty Associates of Canton, owner, 5396 Columbus Road Northeast, Louisville, Ohio 44641. The request for a variance has been reviewed and there are no recommendations or suggestions regarding the appeal. Appeal number 1235-14, Michael D. Miller applicant, 4015 Hills and Dales Road Northwest, Canton, Ohio 44708, and Nancy J. Miller owner, 4015 Hills and Dales Road Northwest, Canton, Ohio 44708. The request for a variance has been reviewed and there are no recommendations or suggestions regarding the appeal. Appeal number 1236-14, Speedway LLC, care of Jonathan Zegan, applicant, 13000 Shaker Boulevard, Cleveland, Ohio 44120, and Speedway LLC owner, 500 Speedway Drive, Enon, Ohio 45323. The request for a variance has been reviewed and there are no recommendations or suggestions regarding the appeal. In the interest of time, since we have 3 appeals this evening, all individuals who are prepared to speak, would you please stand so I may administer the oath? Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the information you are about to present is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Okay, the first appeal. 1233-14, Krause's Pizza. Who wishes to speak on behalf of the appeal? Would you please state your name and your address?
My name is Tom Hartnett. My address is 5725 Great Port Circle in Massillon. I'm an attorney for Krause's Pizza. And I'm here with J.B. Abraham, who is one of the owners of the business at Krause's Pizza. And if I
We could also ask anyone when they come up to speak, also, there's a sign-in sheet there, you can sign that for us, please do.
absolutely.
Thank you.
If you don't mind if I approach, just want to hand you some of the, I guess, the exhibits of what we'll be talking about today.
Sir, would you please state your name and your address also?
Yes, James Abraham, 4771 12th Street Southwest, Canton, 44710.
Thank you.
I'll try to make this brief. I know you have a lot on your agenda today. Krause's Pizza is on the corner of 30th Street, and I think you probably all are aware of where it's located. I have a number of exhibits that tell you a little bit about what Krause's Pizza is trying to do. A very short version of it is they have a 25-foot setback. They would like to, they have a patio that sits outside their current restaurant, and they would like to build out their patio with a roof and some roll-up siding. If you go through the exhibits, starting probably the best exhibit to initially look at is exhibit number 3. It's a survey of the property. And it's simply showing the existing location. If you notice Martindale Road right on the corner, sits back quite a bit from the actual building. There is landscaping between the building and the property line, which is currently actually in the right of way. When my client bought the property, he thought the property line went all the way to a fence line, if you see in the middle of the landscaping. It actually, the property line sits inside the fence line by a good 8 to 10 feet. Where the right-of-way is noted, the property line currently sits 18.6 feet at its closest location to a concrete pad, which is the current site of a patio my client has on the property. My client is not looking to expand the patio whatsoever, simply looking to use the existing concrete foundation for the outer corners of where I guess it would be the building he wants to build will be located. Exhibit 4 shows where the total existing building will be located. And once again, the closest point to the right-of-way would be 18.6 feet. Exhibit 5 is an aerial view of the property. And you'll notice, if you look closely, you'll see what's existing right now on the side. It will not be altered size-wise at all. You'll see the landscaping in between the driveway and Martindale Road. You'll notice how commercial the area is, although there is one residence behind that shopping center. Exhibit 6 gives you an idea of what the outside of Krause's Pizza looks like, showing you the fence and what is currently the patio, showing you some landscaping as well, where the buffer is and where they thought initially the right-of-way ended at that fence and that utility pole. The next exhibit gives you another side view of the property, showing the closest residence to the property sitting well behind that commercial lot. Exhibit A is a side view, once again, of what is out there right now. There has since been, and this will give you a good indication of where the concrete pad sits, where it has sat for quite some time. There is an outbuilding directly behind the current patio where they serve takeout pizzas through that window. All of that is in legal conformity with current zoning, as I've been made aware. Exhibit 9 will show you the back view of the current accessory building. And exhibits 11, 12, and 13 show you what the inside of the patio is like right now. Probably what is on everyone's mind, though, is the following exhibit, which we've highlighted here, which is what we want to do with the property. And it's simply, you can see the outside area that we're taking from the current patio, bricking it, putting a roof over it, and once again, not expanding the side of it, but simply enclosing it and looking to heat it in the winter. It'll certainly increase the amount of food the client can serve out there. It's going to be TVs in there, and we think it's going to present a nice view for the neighborhood. And then the last two exhibits are simply elevation exhibits and drawings of the south elevation and the east elevation. Now, Mr. Abraham is here to tell you a little bit about Krause's Pizza. His name is James, but he goes by JB. JB, tell me about Krause's in general. A lot of people are concerned it's just another bar that's going to be in the neighborhood, and there could be noise concerns. Can you tell me the operation of Krause's and how it might differentiate itself from other places nearby?
Krause's is a carry-out and sit-in pizza shop. We differentiate ourselves as not as a bar, but we sell 80% of our revenue derived from food sales. We're family-oriented. Friday nights during the football season, we try to strive with the families that are coming in after the Atlanta games, looking to expand that into this fall with the patio being enclosed to provide an environment for the community to come into, enjoy pizza, watch TV, and do it in a setting that's more family conducive in the patio area.
Well, what are your hours of operation?
Our operations, we open at 11, we close at midnight, all during the week. We are not like any of our neighbors in the same general vicinity. We're not a nightclub, we don't operate as a nightclub, we're not affiliated, we close early, we don't have bands, we don't have outside entertainment. So for those concerns that this is going to turn into another bar like the two that are already, one in the plaza and one across the street, this is not the goal. This is to serve, expand the food service for family-oriented dining.
Now, you own what you would consider a bar currently at another location, is that correct?
Yes, I'm in a partnership with Logi's Bar and Grill. It is located in Jackson Township. It is a different concept. It is more geared towards a bar atmosphere, but it's also in a location that lends itself to be a half a mile from many residences, and it's a different concept, and this is not the same concept we're going for.
Now, when you say a restaurant, what is the breakdown of Logi's food versus alcohol sales?
Logi's is a 60% alcohol, 40% food mix, whereas the Krause's is 80% food to 20% alcohol.
And the hours of Logi's are quite different?
They're open till 2 a.m. On the weekends and until 1 a.m. during the week.
And you have no intention of changing the hours of Krause's?
No.
Now, the clientele that you mentioned at the other bars are nearby. What are those other two bars?
Nathan's Patio and Grill and the Hall of Fame House of Music.
And those clientele differ how?
I'm not familiar with all their clientele, but our clientele is geared towards family. Any time during a Friday, you'll probably find, especially after football, the dining room's filled with families coming in for the games after their sporting events, and that's what we're geared for. We only have so many seats inside. We're turning people away because there's no good outside seating during the fall time. And even in the rains in the summer, we don't have that seating.
You've owned this property, and you've been the owner of the Krause's there since when?
October of 2013.
And since you have you had any complaints whatsoever?
We've had no complaints related to noise or police.
You mentioned the current patio. How is the current patio used?
The current patio is used mostly for patrons to walk out and have a cigarette until they come back inside.
Do you serve food out there? Are there waitresses that go back and forth and serve drinks?
Not consistently. They usually people do buy their drinks on the inside and go outside.
So what you're looking to do is basically get more use out of the patio.
More use by turning it into a full-service restaurant style seating.
Now, you plan on putting a roof on that new patio, correct?
Correct.
And will that roof be insulated?
The roof will be insulated, so will the siding of the building to, one, help with noise issues and also to retain heat.
Okay. With regards to the use of that property, the open siding, do they face any of the current residences nearby?
No, as seen in the drawing, the proposed open areas will face Martindale Road, and one will face the front of the plaza. There will be no exterior open doors facing any adjacent residents.
And those doors aren't open all the time, they're roll-up doors, correct?
Yeah, correct, they are roll-up doors.
Okay. And what happens if you can't get a variance? You can still use your patio, correct?
Our patio would be used in its current form as a place for someone to stand out and smoke. We can also construct a patio with a smaller area, which will not be conducive to providing any additional restaurant seating for patrons. But it could be used, without the current variance, it could be used with limited seating.
So if you look at our exhibit up here, the blow-up, if you had to take that back to the current setback line, you would lose approximately 6.5 feet off that building?
Yes.
Which would take the high tops possibly?
It would approximately bring to the level of the bar stools as presented there.
So it would make it look more of a bar than a place for people to sit
Yes.
down and eat?
Yes, would have no additional seating for a
When
restaurant.
you acquired the business, do you have any idea there were potential setback issues with this patio?
No, based on the existing location of the fence line and the outbuilding, that was where the patio actually ended, and that's where the setbacks were at.
So you assume by just looking at it, you could do everything you wanted there because there was a fence there was an outbuilding there, there was a concrete pad there. And
Yes,
you're
everything.
not changing the size of that.
No, we did not change the size, or requesting to change the size, and based on how everything presented itself, that would look like where the setback was at.
So in light of that testimony, we don't think there's any really changing use of what is going on right now. The pad stays the same, the outer dimensions and look at how they're using it stay the same. Simply my client wants to put a roof line and keep it. The variance that they're requesting is 6.5 feet. It's about 25% of the setback requirement. Now, when you consider that the road is farther back than 25 feet, we don't think this would be considered a substantial variance request. With regards to changing the characteristics of the neighborhood, there should be no change in the characteristics of the neighborhood. Their current use is the same use that it's going to be if this variance is requested. This is a family restaurant. It is not intended to be a nightclub. If anything, the roof will help hold the sound in. And there are no openings towards the residence that is directly behind the facility. I don't believe there's any effect on government services. Ambulances, fire trucks, police can still get in and out, can still get around the building. And lastly, my client had no knowledge of this setback issue when he went to buy the property. The pad was there, the fence was there, the accessory building was there. It all made it appear that you could use the entire pad as it was now being used. So at the end of the day, really this boils down to, can they put a roof on what's out there right now and sidewalks? That's the limitation of what they're asking the variance for. And because of that, we don't think that should qualify as anything that is overly detrimental to the area. In fact, there is very little detriment. But what they're faced with is truly a practical difficulty. They've got it, they're using it now, the use is the same size as what they want to use it for, they simply want to put a roof on it. And that's why we're asking for the variance tonight. If anyone has any questions?
Are there any questions from any members of the board? Thank you, gentlemen. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this appeal? I'm sorry, is there anyone else in favor? Thank you.
My name is Louis Geovasis. My address is 6625 Old Stone Circle, Northeast, Canton, Ohio, 44708. The reason why I'm here today, I was asked to come to speak on behalf of the business owner in regards to what's taking place over there currently and the type of business that he's operating. The business itself for the last couple of years has been a very big asset to the community. It's used widely. They provide food to many of our community events and team feeds, different things like that. They do have a family atmosphere inside this facility, and it's my understanding he intends to keep it that way. I want to go on record because we did check today with the sheriff's office. There has been no noise complaints or trash complaints or any other type of issues with the existing business. Aesthetically, looking at the design that was shown today, I think it's not going to be a detriment to the neighborhood. I think it's going to aesthetically improve the neighborhood. And based on everything that was presented tonight by their attorney, I think there's no reason why the variance should be granted. That's what I'd like to know.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the appeal? Anyone in opposition to the appeal?
Hello.
Hello, please state your name and address.
Steve Atzarides, 3105 Martindale Road. I own the two parcels, the 1 acre plot plus the 0.7 acre plot with the home on it. That runs parallel with the business.
Mr. Henry, please make sure you sign Second also.
You got it, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm just gonna read a couple page letter, make it short and brief, and go from there. Mr. Lowe Miller's expansion request is clearly in violation of Article 7, Section 712.3 and 712.4 lot and yard requirements. The landscape fence, the ornamental grasses, the patio fence, the proposed building addition will definitely obstruct the view and cause sight problems for drivers. If I may approach, I got the newsletter you guys send out every month to show you page 3. Under trees, bushes, and hedges. Here in the Plain Township newsletter, the paragraph under trees, bushes, and hedges reads, quote, "Please trim back your trees, bushes, and hedges or other obstructions that may cause sight problems for drivers. The courts have determined that there may be a joint liability between the owner and the governmental agency for hazards in the right-of-way. The township is not responsible for trees in the right-of-way," end quote. This building addition proposal will obstruct the view of drivers pulling out onto Martindale. Someone will get hurt or worse. I agree with the court's decision, so if you're a trustee endorsing or on the panel voting for this expansion, choosing to violate the zoning requirements, you should share the liability. There is no way, no how, that anyone can tell me or my neighbors that a bar expansion will enhance this neighborhood. Here's a list of names, addresses, phone numbers of residents who live in close proximity to Krause's who are not in favor of the expansion. Please note, 100% of the neighbors who answer their door sign not in favor. I believe you guys have the copy of the 50 or so names I have.
We do.
Okay. The following are some of the problems we are currently dealing with: shootings, loud music, trash, public urination, lewd acts, burglaries. Miss Karen Marshall, an elderly woman living at 1104 31st Street, mentioned that people are urinating in her yard and that her home was broken into. She has since installed security cameras to her home. A bar expansion would only add to these problems. We feel these businesses depreciate our home values and way of life. Krause's had plenty of opportunity to expand within the framework of the existing building. The space next to Krause's sat vacant for years. Now that it is leased to the B&B, Mr. Lowe Miller wants to build out 18.5 feet from the street, in which 25 feet is required. A violation of Section 721.4 as stated in his denial letter. Krause's is a small piece of shop with a small bar. It's not a Winkin Lizard. It will never be a Winkin Lizard. Mr. Lowe Miller's need for additional seating for 1 or 2 nights a week is not enough reason to violate the zoning requirements or jeopardize the safety of the community. In closing, I would like to reiterate the court's decision that makes the owner and the governmental agency jointly liable for the obstruction in the right-of-way. Mr. Lowe Miller's ideas were denied the first time, his appeal second, his new proposal third, so please deny his second appeal to expand the fourth and final time. Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak against the appeal?
I'm Mike Hamilton. I live at 3110 Martindale, just diagonal from Krause's. And I'm actually here to speak for the families that couldn't be here and the families that are in the neighborhood. I have a 6-year-old son. I hear music from that direction all the time. And that's from the 2 other places that are there. The building, I haven't even seen the drawing or anything, what's going to look like. But with the roll-up doors, I understand the music probably will not be loud, but still it'll draw more people in, and it's still a bar at the end of the day. My son goes to bed early, 8, 9 o'clock, and having music being blared from 3 different spots now. I mean, from the two spots I'm there now to the spot that's gonna be coming in, I mean, not, being expanded. I feel that it's a family neighborhood, okay? And I understand I'm all for making the neighborhood looking better, but at the expense of what? Yeah, there's not gonna have outdoor bars or outdoor music and stuff, but still, I feel the need that this shouldn't happen. Where my wife's already been T-boned right there at the intersection of 31st and Martindale from somebody who didn't stop at the stop, coming out of our driveway. And still, you guys wanna, Mr. Lowmiller wants to add on to a building where there's a destruction. Could be fixed. So, thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak against the appeal?
Is it too late to say one other thing?
Please come up.
You know, in our neighborhood there, all within a quarter mile, there are 6 places that already sell alcohol. There's Krause's, there's Nathan's, there's the House of Music, there's the College Bowl, there's Rite Aid, there's Marathon. Aside from that, there's 2 gambling stores, one's open 24 hours a day. That's all we can handle. That's all I want to say, thank you. And I will finish writing my name here.
Sir, can you explain your site distance issues that you talked about? I'm trying to understand when you're talking about traffic, site limitation issues. pulling
Yeah,
out of it.
there's a landscaping fence, there's ornamental grass, patio fence. So you got about a 10, 12-foot window to see the road prior to pulling out. You gotta dodge all that to see the road.
You're talking about coming out of 31st Street?
I'm talking about pulling out from Krause.
Okay, so I'm coming out of Plaza essentially, because it's not just crosses, it's the entire plaza. I'm
Right.
coming out of the plaza, I'm sitting there looking to turn left or right. If I pull out to where I'm safe to pulling out, not into the road of course, but right there on the edge before I pull out, if I am facing east, Krause's and the plaza's behind me, I turn left, what am I seeing? I'm not seeing the fence.
You're in front of Krause's pulling out into Martindale. Okay.
I'm not seeing the fence, correct?
Well, if you're pulling out way onto the road to see the traffic.
Well,
you're
not into
pulling
the road, but just before the road. I'm not seeing the fence, I might be seeing the
You're seeing a
grass.
landscaping
Okay,
fence. There's a
okay, is
patio
the-
fence, a
is-
landscaping fence, and ornamental grasses.
I see the grasses in the photos. I don't see the fence. When I look at the photos,
There's it's not a,
Split rail fence.
yeah, there's a fence, it's not like an 8-foot high fence, it's an ornamental fence.
okay, is this
surrounded by-
ornamental fence part of this appeal?
No.
Okay. Are the grass part of this appeal?
No.
The only thing that's part of this appeal is there's already this fence around the patio.
Correct.
Well, we're not just
When I
talking
pull
about
out-
a fence, we're talking about a building
Well,
that he's proposing. Imagine having a building there.
This doesn't seem to affect you from pulling out, though. There's no site limitations. It's not changing anything. That's what I'm trying to understand. I mean, it doesn't change anything as you're pulling out onto Martindale there.
I believe it's an obstruction.
There's a fence that's already there right now, which is
Right.
where they have a patio.
Right.
So they're putting a building, basically a wall, where that fence is. How is that, what's the obstruction? I still don't.
I just
See
think
it as pulling out.
there's just too many things going on right there for you to get a clear sight of the road pulling out. Between all the things together.
I think the question is, what is the difference between the wall and the fence, which are in the same physical location?
Well, a building's a building, I mean, a fence is a fence. You know, a building's supposed to be back 25 feet from the road.
My question is, what is the difference between the sight lines caused by the fence versus a wall?
Well, if you look at it like that, I'm not sure. All I know is a building's a building and a fence is a fence. And there's two fences, and there's ornamental grass. So you're trying to dodge all that to get between the landscaping to pull out onto the road. The bottom line is, there's just way too much going on right now. There's people pulling out behind the building having sex. I got a 4-year-old daughter. There's people in my yard pissing at night. You know, I live next door to all this. I've lived there since 2008, and I see firsthand what's going on. Nobody's gonna convince me that a bar expansion next door to me is a good idea, especially when we're violating the requirements.
Well, let me address the violating the requirements. Basically, that's the purpose for this board, is to
Exactly.
consider a variance or a change from that.
Right.
Their opportunity is to come before the board to present testimony and evidence relative to whether or not we can grant a variance from. So it would be a violation if they went ahead and built it without our approval.
Right.
I mean, I understand, your arguments, I'm just trying to explain to you it's not a violation.
Well, the way I read the newsletter, the court's made the decision that it's part owner and part governmental agency that's liable for this.
You're talking about liability relative to issues that are in the right of way, in terms of failure to trim back hedges and trees and bushes. This doesn't apply.
Or other obstructions.
What's that?
Or other obstructions.
Well, your argument relative to the building, to me, is non-existent. There is no other obstruction. I see your argument that maybe these bushes or this fence, this split rail fence may cause an obstruction to your viewpoint.
Right, the
pulling
thing
out.
is, you don't have to, get a permit to put up a fence or a concrete pad, but you have to get a permit to build a building. And that building should sit back 25 feet, from what I understand.
That is the requirement. That's why they're here. They want to reduce that. That's the purpose for the variance. There's certain requirements that they need to present to us in order to do that.
Okay.
And we hear your testimony relative to some of the issues. Do you have any evidence that any people from Krause's, or that's kind of where you're having problems, from Krause's back behind that building?
I don't know where they're coming from.
So you don't know if they're from Nathan's or somewhere else or anywhere else?
I don't know, there's enough going on right there.
Well, the fence and the grass and all this, is that put in there by the shopping center, or is that put in there by Crosses?
When I moved in August of '08, it was always there.
So it could,
I don't know
it
who
could
put it
have
up there.
It could have been put in there by the shopping center. Maybe Cross doesn't have a thing to do with that.
It could have, a very good chance it was, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Whereas applicant Ken Lomilli, 909 30th Street Northeast, Canton, Ohio, 44714, and owner Realty Associates of Canton, Inc., 5396 Columbus Road, Northeast Louisville, Ohio, 44641, request the following: to construct a 16 by 62 foot, 992 square foot commercial addition on property located across this Pizza, 909 30th Street Northeast, parcel number 5201851, 6.4 foot east side yard. Setback variance 25 foot required, 18.6 feet requested, whereas the applicant or representative have appeared in person before this board at an adjudication hearing on said application, and the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals has duly considered this application pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 519.14, and now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals to grant the following: 6.4 foot east side yard setback variance, 25 foot required, 18.6 feet requested.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Well, I think the applicant has shown that there is a practical difficulty in this situation. There's not going to be the same beneficial use of the property without granting this variance. The variance is not substantial. It will not substantially be detriment to the adjoining properties. It appears the property owner was not aware or knew of the variance, of the zoning restrictions. The character of the neighborhood will not be substantially altered. There's no effect on government services, and the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, unless I support approving this appeal.
Any further discussion from the board? Roll call vote, please.
McVeigh?
Yes.
Beck?
Yes.
Uslees?
Yes.
Solz?
Yes.
Sutton?
Yes. Next on the agenda is appeal number 1235-14. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of that appeal, please?
Can you sign, please?
Please state your names and addresses and sign in on the sheet.
Absolutely. My name is Brian Ashman. I'm a partner at Cooper and Associates. We are the surveyor and engineer for the applicant.
I'm Michael Miller. I am the applicant. I own the building.
Can you guys please state your addresses?
My address is 4015 Hills and Dales Road, Canton, Ohio, 44708.
My address, this is Mr. Ashman, is 1884 Summer Chase Road Northeast, Canton, Ohio, 44720.
My name is Eric Mollihan. I'm the tenant, owner of Auto Sport Plus. My address is 2761 Legacy, Uniontown, 44685.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I wonder if I could have clarification on what the board read was the application for the variance, down to what dimension? Do you have
20 foot.
20 foot. Yes. So what I wanted to make certain is that the proposed building.
Well, actually, no, it's not. Is it 19 feet?
19 feet 11 inches.
Yeah. I was reading the
precise.
Okay. I would actually appreciate it if we would just allow the variance to go to the 5-foot line if we get approved, please. The building that we have for the architect is actually set at 5 foot 1 inch away from the property line, but I'd like to make certain that we have a 1 inch leeway there, so I'd like to have the application actually state that it will be as close as 5 feet to the property line instead of 5 foot 1 inch. Okay. Yes, thank you very much. We had submitted, I'm an engineer, I don't get into a lot of public speaking and stuff, but I am going to present a few facts and some information on this subject piece of property. You were provided with a site plan that showed the existing facility and the proposed building. The existing building is an older building. It was, first off, we're located at the southwest corner of Columbus Road and Roosevelt Avenue. Columbus Road is State Route 62. The existing building was constructed before the zoning code went into effect and therefore is grandfathered in. And you can see by the site plan that we submitted that the existing building encroaches into the current setbacks both along the side of Roosevelt Avenue and to the south. The south corner of that existing building is approximately 10 feet from the existing property line. What we are proposing is an addition to the building which would allow the individual that leases, the corporation that leases the building from the applicant to be able to expand in his detail facility for automotive automotive repairs. And I'm going to let them talk about this various issue here. What I would like to state is that, yes, we are going for a substantial variance because of the 25 feet down to 5 foot. Sounds like quite a large substantial variance, but when you look at the situation with the existing building being in existing condition and being grandfathered in, it is not that dramatic of an encroachment into that south easement. The existing building was already encroaching 15 feet into that 25-foot easement. As I stated, that corner was approximately 10 feet off of the south property line. We will now be 5 feet, 5 foot 1 inches from that south property line. So although it sounds like a large encroachment, I don't believe that it is that substantial. And I would like to, if possible here, I would like to submit a supplemental little drawing that I just want to present some information, and this will give you a picture. This supplemental drawing that I've provided, it's a composite of the auditor information. It's an aerial view of the property, taken a little farther back. So I wanted to be able to present to you some information relative to the adjacent buildings that are in this vicinity. The subject property is the one that is highlighted in yellow, being there at the corner of 62 and Roosevelt. In my application, I stated that we didn't feel that this would be a negative impact to the overall area in question here. There are already multiple buildings to the west of us and to the east of us that are well within 25 feet of their property lines. As you can see, to the southwest of us, or let's look, due south of us is what's called a parcel number 5208027. That is owned by the shopping center that is to the west, being parcel number 5217643. The building of the shopping center is already very close to that east property line, approximately 5 feet. Now, they do own the one parcel that I said, 5208027, so they're not really causing a concern with encroaching into that setback line on that one. But they do not own that parcel 5205263, which is the next one to the south. So here's a situation that we already have a very tight situation, probably in the neighborhood of 5 feet. I did not actually do a survey on those pieces of property, but I have looked at it, and as you can see from the aerial image, that it's probably approximately 5 feet off that property line. Over to the east of us, on the other side of Roosevelt Avenue, is another building, and their proximity to their south property line is also very close, probably within approximately 5 to 7 feet there. So the existing neighborhood has several buildings that are closer to the property lines. It's all commercial. This is a nice facility. It's a nice area. Yes, the buildings are closer to the property lines than are per the code, and we are asking for a variance. What I'd like to do is let the owner come in and give a couple comments, and then the person that leases the property.
Thank you, Brad. I'm Michael Miller. My wife and I own the property. It's in Nancy's trust. And I've had a wonderful tenant. In fact, Eric Mollahan and his wife Ann have been a tenant of mine for going on 10 years. They've taken beautiful care of that building. I spent a lot of money on it. I fixed up a lot of properties over the years in Flint Township, including the corner of Middle Branch and 62, which is a car lot that I fixed up for myself because I used to own a Pontiac dealership downtown, which was called Family Pontiac. And I built that building on the corner to be a car lot for myself. Before I got it done, I fixed it up so nice somebody wanted to rent it. So I never did open it up myself, but it's always been a car lot. This place across the street, I got it then to fix it up for a car lot for myself. Got it all fixed up. Somebody wanted to rent it, so I never had a car lot in it myself. Eric came along. I think I've owned the building about 20 years. We spent everything we can think of on the building to bring it up to code. with the proper restroom space and so forth. Eric really keeps it painted up nice. The blacktop's always nice. He keeps the lawns mowed. I would hate to lose him. He's grown a great business there. It's called Auto Sports Plus, where they sell tires, wheels, radios for automobiles, televisions, remote starters, everything you can think of to fix up cars. I've never ever had a complaint from anybody, any neighbors, anybody else. I use that business. I use them myself. I have a car lot now, which, by the way, I fixed up another building in Plain Township. It used to be called Johnny Apple Cheese. I think if you take a look at that, that's come out to be a real beautiful building from what it used to be. I use the top contractor that I've used over the years to do these kinds of jobs for me, and I don't like to do anything halfway. We always fix them up so it looks great. The blueprints on this will make the building look even better than it does now. It's going to give Eric enough room to stay there. And believe me, if I can't get this approval, I think Eric will probably have to move because he has outgrown this building. I want him to continue to grow and keep the building nice like he has all these years. Eric, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, my name's Eric Monahan, and like Mickey said, we've just outgrown this building, which is a fortunate thing, but it's unfortunate because we have to be here tonight. We like our home there on 62. We like our neighbors. We hope that you guys will agree with us tonight and let this go through. There's too many buildings on 62 that are already sitting empty. I don't want to leave. I really don't. But I like being with Mickey. I like our building, and I like that location. So thank you for your time.
Any questions?
Any questions or comments from the board? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'd like to add one little thing there. The plaza next door, about 4 months ago, I had my real estate guy that handles all my real estate. We did approach the owners of that shopping center, and I am attempting trying to buy it. I can have all that property together. That isn't done yet, but they are at the shopping center right to the west of us. And so, my realtor is working on it. Whether it can happen in the near future or not, I don't know, but I'm going to continue trying to buy that property, which would make it all one nice big piece. Okay?
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of the appeal? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the appeal?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. Whereas applicant Michael D. Miller, 4015 Hillsdale Road, owner Nancy J. Miller, trustee, 4015 Hillsdale Road, request the following to construct a 43-foot by 32-foot, 1,130 square foot commercial addition on the property located at 2136 Columbus Road, northeast parcel 5207941. They were requesting a 19-foot, 11-inch south rear yard setback variance, 25-foot required, 5-foot 1-inch requested. The applicant has appeared in person before this board in an adjudication hearing on the application, and the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals has duly considered the application pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 519.14. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals to modify the application, and that would be to a 20-foot south rear yard setback variance, 25-foot required, 5-foot requested.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, including finding of facts and practical difficulties?
Well, I would say, well, first with respect to Mr. Ashman, the fact that we've got other buildings that are within 5 feet, I mean, it is what it is, but obviously the zoning code is now what it says. My only concern relates to the parcel to the south of that, 5208027, I guess, to the extent that they put a building there. Does that create any issue with respect to being 25 feet, that your building's now closer? But having said that, I do believe, based upon the testimony presented, that they have demonstrated the requisite practical difficulties, given the nature of this business and the location of the property, and likewise with respect to some of the adjoining property. So I would be in favor of the appeal.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote?
McVeigh,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Usleedis.
Yes.
Souls.
Yes.
Sutton.
Yes. Okay, the third appeal. This is for the Speedway, appeal number 1236-14.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have to recuse myself from this case.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, my name is John Zegan. I'm with Richard L. Bowen and Associates for Speedway LLC. My address is 13,000 Shaker Boulevard, Cleveland, Ohio, 44120. If you don't mind, I have some exhibits to supplement the application.
Would you sign it?
I will, thank you, sir. Maybe it's a little short, so I don't share.
Who's this here?
And this is just a copy of the plan. You have this in your package. You may not need it. Here's some photos, site photos. We're located 2 doors down from you, so you may have seen this more than a photo. So you probably know the history if you're a resident better than I do too, but I'm going to give you a little bit set up here. Picture of the proposed sign. See that?
Did you see that?
It's blurry, it's not your eyes, it's a blurred photo. This is the existing condition, if you will. We have the existing speedway facing on Easton Street, and then, here, I'm going to provide this by putting north up. Fronting on Easton Street, this is the Lino Family Restaurant next door. They own an L-shaped property around the existing speedway. And what Speedway is proposing to do, obviously in conjunction with Lino's restaurant via land sale here, is to expand to this property. Speedway's been at that location since 1997. I believe there was a gas station prior to that too. But one of the things that Speedway is doing is reinvesting in the stores that are successful in the neighborhoods that have been good partners. So one of the ways they reinvest, besides building new stores, is expanding the existing, updating the existing. So what they'd like to do is bring their updated store building to this site, and in order to do so, in the way that they do it today, they would have to buy property from Lino's Family Restaurant. So the property that they would purchase would be this smaller L shape towards the back of the restaurant. And what they plan to do with it matches the site plan you have, which what they plan to do with it is build, like I mentioned, a new updated store, and they'll take that gas station configuration and put them all in a line. This would be single dispensers in each of these rows so that you're not waiting behind cars after you fill up your car like you do today. There's 2 dispensers in a row, and occasionally you'll have a car parked in front after you're done and you can't pull out. This is what they call
dive-in configuration. And then we have a parking increase to come up and meet the parking requirements of the current code here along the front of the store. What we're seeing here are the buried underground gas tanks. This is similar to the situation today. This really just looks like a concrete pad. If you were to go and go to the site, there'll be some colorful covers there, color for the driver of the delivery truck to understand which product goes with which. There's a canopy over the dispensers, just like there is today. And then these little items are the signs, which I gave you a picture of. This sign is in conformance in terms of the dimensions, the area dimension, because of the length of the frontage along Middle Branch, which is approximately 300 feet. And this second sign, which is identical, is out of conformance. I believe it came up with 17 feet. So we're asking for a variance just to put this sign that would be visible to traffic working their way down Easton Street. The setback requirements that we couldn't meet with the site plan are both to the restaurant from which we would be purchasing the property. The rationale behind this site plan was there's certain space requirements that Speedway has, or they found that they have through their business designing gas stations. They own about 2,700 stores in 22 states. So they know a little bit about the space it takes to sell gas. And in addition to that, the township has requirements for what I believe they call waiting spaces in the code at a gas station. So in order to meet the waiting space requirement, and also from Speedway's experience as operators of gas stations, we have kind of a locked-in distance here from the parking and the sidewalk to the end of this asphalt. So in order to develop the site plan, I set that back, the requirement from the property line, and come up with this front part of the site, which left us this area in the back to put the building in. Now, we're creating this property line, so the question is, why can't we just push that property line back? And the reason there is because Leno's Restaurant suffers from a lack of parking, not necessarily from a zoning code requirement, because the zoning code requirements for parking at a restaurant are fairly low. But just from experience, the Leno family restaurant was interested in additional parking. Now, one thing that really doesn't come out in this picture is the area that we're putting this additional parking in is not developed with asphalt right now. They have a package wastewater treatment plant there, which was built around 1980. So that package plant has to be taken out, and that leads to some additional construction that needs to be done. And Speedway is going to work with the Leno family restaurant. Basically, as a part of their land deal, there'll be terms to build new infrastructure to connect them to the public sewer, which right now is located at the intersection. So there'll be a public sewer extension up the road this way that Speedway will be building, and then turning over to, I believe, it's the county has control over the sanitary sewer here. So they'll build sewer and connect this restaurant building to that sewer, and this package plant will go away. Some other zoning requirements on the site plan that don't come out of this scale, but they're detailed on the drawing you have, are there's a requirement for a fence or a physical barrier between residential and commercial. There is a fence on the residential property here, but there's no physical barrier on the commercial property at Leno's Family Restaurant. So what we talked to staff about was, because this fence exists and it's in good condition, and it's an existing condition with no fence, staff felt that no fence would be required here if we were to redevelop the rear of the site. But because we're developing green space in the rear, there'd be a requirement to put a fence there. So we'll build a fence meeting the zoning requirement along this property line, and then, of course, along the south property line also, because, again, we have residential on the opposite side, and we're developing with this new asphalt. So there'll be a fence built here and here in addition. Driveways stay more or less the same as the existing condition, except along Middle Branch Avenue, we'll actually be moving the driveway back away from the intersection. And again, that's just to allow circulation out of Lino's Family Restaurant and also out around this wider or longer canopy, depending on how you look at it. So that is everything that's planned here. I know it's a lot to take on. There's a lot line switch, there's the setback issue that we have here, and there's the two new signs. So if you have any questions, I don't know if I'm getting out of order here, but.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for this gentleman?
Tell me about the sign. You didn't discuss the sign.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And you want to make a bigger sign. Why do they need a bigger sign?
The rationale behind the bigger sign is, quite frankly, visibility. If we switch into the group of photos I put together for you, skipping past, and I apologize, I thought there were page numbers on these. Skipping past the first 2, 3, 4 pictures. Okay. Looking for the 6th picture, the picture of the existing sign. You can see, I can't tell you whether or not that is in conformance with the current code right now, but you can see standing right in front of the sign, it is very visible. But as we continue through the set of pictures and we move away from the sign, when you move 2 pictures in, I'm looking at this one that is looking east, up Easton Street. You can see that Speedway sign that was big and visible when we were standing right in front of it is nearly invisible to the passerby. And if we look at the next picture, excuse me, now we're looking north of Middle Branch, and we have the same issue. We see the Lino Family Restaurant signs, which will actually be removed, and we see the telephone poles, but we lose the sign there. So that sign, again, is going to be permitted to fit into this space and hopefully be more visible, but backing up on Easton, it would still be invisible. So that's why we need a larger sign on Easton so that people can see it.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of the appeal? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the appeal?
It's not really an opposition, it's more of concern.
Please state your name and address and sign in.
I'm John Draghi. I own the property next to the new speedway that's being proposed at 6335 Middle Branch. I own betterbuilt.com at 6316 Middle Branch. I have a tentative purchase agreement on the property at 6328 Middle Branch.
Your home address is 6335, right?
Let's list my mailing address as 6316, please.
Okay.
It's a lot of addresses.
Yeah, you threw out a lot of addresses.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So I am actually in favor of the majority of what's going on with this development. However, I'm not sure if we can have a conditional approval based on the Speedway potentially working with myself to continue the sewer project. There is a sewer line that was installed in Middle Branch going south, that passed First Merit, comes up, and then it starts to come down Grove. I talked with Tom Davis down at the Sanitary Engineering Department. The footing is actually perfect for us to be able to connect this existing trunk line to the eastern trunk line. That would provide sewer service down Middle Branch. The possible issues that we would get into are that water is on this side of the this west side of Middle Branch, as well as power. So I'm not sure how the setbacks would go as far as, you know, continuing that project, and if it would be even feasible for Speedway to work with me on this. But I think that, you know, with what's being proposed here, my intent was to make this a commercial property sometime in the future once sewer was completed. So we could potentially, you know, rezone this property to B1. I spoke earlier, or excuse me, later in November with Denny briefly about that possibility. He said that B1 may not be a problem. But, you know, as far as the neighborhood's concerned, I guess my concern regarding the neighborhood itself would be the lighting from the Speedway. Obviously, they're very bright, and I'm not sure if that's been taken into consideration or not. But, you know, I'd be willing to work with Speedway if they could, you know, help continue that process. You know, because more business, what that would allow us to essentially do is continue to finish off the businesses in this area. None of this area can be developed in any real manner unless we finish the sewer project. So it's feasible, it would work. It's approximately 450 feet of sewer line that would be required. Sewer line against or on the same side of the road with water is doable. It just requires a different kind of pipe. So I'm not sure if you can put a conditional in there or not.
If I can suggest, there's a 10 feet minimum distance requirement between sewer and water.
Okay. And then, well, see, it's a little bit more compound because we also have power down that same side too. So I'm not sure how that would work. But, you know, we'd like to explore that possibility if we could do that now during this massive construction project.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I think that Speedway would be open to it. I think the concerns with the sewer, I actually talked to the sanitary engineer about the same sewer, because when I initially did my site investigation, and you're correct, that I have a copy of these plans, and I'm going to be in your way a little, I think. The sewer was built coming up Middle Branch, and I believe it came to about here and dead-ended with a lateral for this property. Remember, this is the rear of Lino's restaurant right now, Lino's Family Restaurant. So when I looked at this, they said you need to connect to the restaurant to the sewer. I said, that's going to be easy, connect it here. But the problem with the sewer is that it doesn't go anywhere right now, as I think you know. It was intended, from what the sanitary engineer tells me, to continue down Grove Street, I think, and tie in somewhere down Grove Street. So, again, we can talk about a shared expansion. I think it all comes down to whether, you know, feasibility-wise and cost-wise, whether this is more effective or this is more effective, because the sanitary engineer also had concerns about plugging this bank in and continuing the main down here to pick up other properties. So, well, I think they're going to drive the train on what happens. The sanitary engineer is, because it's public.
Okay, so I can fill in the blanks as to what's missing. So what's missing is that this trunk line actually flows back to here. Mm-hmm. You were correct. This was planned originally to come down. Mm-hmm. and then end up down at the train tracks down here.
That's correct.
There was supposed to be a pumping station that was installed. This entire neighborhood voted it down. So this project will probably not ever get done in any immediate time, because, you know, everybody's gonna have to get
A lot of cost involved, and a lot of approvals.
right. But basically, what I'd like to do is see this come down through, you know, and pick up right there.
Yeah, that, I can't speak for Speedway, you know, legally, because I'm just an engineer here to represent this plan, but that is a little more intensive for them, you know, to have public sewer across there. One of Speedway's big concerns in the past, at least in my experience, is water quality and groundwater quality, especially because we bury fuel tanks, you know, on the site. And so they're always very concerned that there's no water leaving the area of the tank and going into a storm sewer, sanitary sewer. It's hard to get into a water line, but if we were coming into contact with potable water, that would be a bad thing. So I really can't speak to whether or not they'd be willing to do it, but I'm sure that we can set up a meeting and go talk to the engineer.
Yeah, this, as you can see, the tanks being right here, shouldn't really be a problem if you came down this side, because you're not gonna have anything in the right of way.
Yeah, I think you know, I don't know that stipping a Board of Zoning Appeals approval on it is appropriate, but maybe at regional planning, where we talk about it before we go to regional planning. You know, this just doesn't seem like the kind of approval I would stip on that. But, like I said, I have to think Speedway, we've worked with neighbors in the past.
Yeah, I guess there was I guess there was a project that was recently done in Hudson, that Tom Davis had worked on, where you guys worked with another resident.
Yeah, I don't do all, I wish I did all the Speedway stores, to be honest. I don't do all of them, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it was similar, it was just reversed.
Yeah, and again, there's, you know, the real crux for, Speedway has a connection to the existing sewer right now. Speedway doesn't need a new connection, but because Speedway wants to give the neighbor this parking back here, the neighbor needs a connection. So again, it's a matter of, you know, physically bringing this.
Do you know how the sewer is going to be redone for this property?
We haven't fully designed it, but right now, again, my job as the engineer, the design engineer, is to find, you know, the lowest cost solution that meets the sanitary engineer's requirements. And when I sat down with the sanitary engineer, he said, you know, this is way off in the future because there's no momentum for it because, like you said, the residential community voted it down. And so what he said is, you know, low-hanging fruit is, well, if we can get this property online and have a main extended down Easton where there is none.
Yeah, actually, if you do that, you know, then we could extend it down and then on the backside of the property.
And again, that, like I said, we can work something out with the sanitary engineer and Speedway, but unfortunately, like I said, I'm just the engineer here to represent this plan for it, so.
As long as you're willing to work with Mr. Draghi and have discussions in that respect.
Absolutely, I just would prefer not to stip this decision on it, because I think it's more appropriate for regional.
Sure.
Oh, no, we don't have authority on that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Anything further?
Chairman, I'll make a motion. Applicant Speedway LLC, care of Jonathan Zegan, 13,000 Shaker Boulevard, Cleveland, Ohio. Owner Speedway LLC, 500 Speedway Drive, Enid, Ohio. Request the following: construct a 48-foot by 82-foot, 9,340 square foot new commercial building on the property located at 2570 Easton Street, parcel number 52-05663 and part of 52-17647. A 15-foot west rear yard setback variance, 25-foot required, 10-foot requested. A 15-foot south side yard setback variance, 25-foot required, 10-foot requested. And a 17 square foot pole sign variance, 149 square foot permitted, 166 square foot requested. The applicant or representative has appeared in person before this board in an adjudication hearing on the application, and the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals has duly considered this application pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 519.14. Now therefore be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals to grant the following: a 15-foot west rear yard setback variance, 25-foot required, 10-foot requested. A 15-foot south side yard setback variance, 25-foot required, 10-foot requested. And a 17-square-foot pole sign variance, 149 square feet permitted, 166 square feet requested.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And can we have some discussion, including finding of facts and practical difficulties, please?
Well, I think definitely it would be an improvement for that corner.
You know, given the testimony that was presented here by Mr. Zegan and the documents that were submitted, the variances primarily affect Lino's, who is the property owner they're working in conjunction with. So from our standpoint, there's not much objection to it from that standpoint. I would like to see him work, cooperatively with other property owners relative to, sanitary issues, anything like that. Obviously, being a good neighbor is helpful. So from that standpoint, I have no objection, would be in favor of the appeal.
And actually, it's going to be of benefit to Lino's as well, because they will have sanitary sewer availability and more adequate parking.
It'll be removing an old wastewater treatment.
And ultimately, if they, and I know it's not for us, if they end up connecting everything else, it can be beneficial to this whole area. Sure.
Roll call vote?
McVeigh?
Yes.
Beck?
Yes.
Solz?
Yes.
Sutton?
Yes. Are there any announcements to come before the board?
Yes, gentlemen, we have two announcements to make this evening. There will be a meeting on January 7th of 2015. We have, at this point in time, we have one applicant, and that's all we'll have because the timing is over. And I also want to make an announcement that Jim McVeigh's term is up, and Jim has decided to say sayonara to the board. He has stated that he, over the 20, been on the board for 22 years. I'm going to read the email he sent. Denny, I've been on the Board of Appeals for 22 years. It has been a privilege, and I have met some great people. Maybe not this board. However, I have been on earth a little more than 4 years, and it's time to step down for another life. Therefore, I do not wish to be considered for another term. For some reason, and I don't know why, I have kept a log of my BZA activities. Since 1992, I have attended a total of 292 meetings, seminars, and educational sessions. Driving to and from these activities has put 3,500 miles on my vehicle. It has been a great experience, and I want to wish the trustees and all township employees the best for the future. You all do a terrific job. Our moving to Plain Township 43 years ago was a very wise decision.
So when's the going away part?
That you are paying for.
About 5 minutes. No. Other than that, happy holidays.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
McVeigh?
Here.
Beck?
Good.
Beck?
Yes.
Busleedy?
Yes.
Solz? Sutton?
Yes. This meeting here is hereby adjourned at 7:24.